This meeting of the City of Frostburg is now called to order. Everyone please stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Remain standing for just a minute, please.
We are thankful for this special community, for the time we share together, and the bounty of our nation. We are thankful for the commitment of our people who volunteer their time and talents to make our community a better place to live, work, and raise a family. We know that we alone cannot meet the challenges or provide sufficient inspiration without community involvement and the dedication of all concerned to the greater good of the city and all who reside in it. We are thankful for the beauty, the time, and the place that is Frostburg.
Okay. All right, you may be seated. Thank you. All right, Mr. O'Brien, if you call the roll, please.
Mayor Logsdon.
Present.
Commissioner Carter.
Here.
Commissioner Forsyth.
Here.
Commissioner Grove.
Here.
Commissioner Ritchie.
Here.
All right, thank you. Next is item 5 on the agenda, which is the approval of the agenda.
I move we approve the agenda.
Second.
Duly moved and seconded to approve the agenda for tonight's meeting. Any further discussion on that? Hearing none, as many as are in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Agenda is approved. Moving on then to item 6, which is the approval of the minutes from the December meeting, the regular December council meeting of December 16th, I believe it was.
Make a motion to approve the minutes. Second.
Duly moved and seconded to approve the minutes of the December monthly council meeting. Any further discussion on that? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Minutes from December are approved. Nothing under item 7, special presentations, so we'll move right into item 8, which is the reports of the monthly city departments. I believe first is community development, is that right, Mr. Miller?
Mayor and Council, good evening. Monthly report for community development. Under permits, building permits, we had 3 issued during the month of December. 1 UNO accessory structure and 1 renovation. Rental housing, code enforcement officer and rental housing officer did 43 inspections. During the course of the month, they're also updating and revising the iWork system to make sure everything's up to date. Mailing out the letters for rental renewals. Getting a hold of the owner agents and the owners. Code enforcement was 17 cases that code enforcement Officer Hobatter handled during the month of December. Boards and commissions, Historic District Commission did not meet due to lack of applications received in December. Planning Commission, the Frostburg Planning Commission did not meet in December due to lack of applications received. Board of Zoning Appeals met on December 3rd for a hearing regarding a request for a special exception use for artisan small-scale manufacturing use at 166 Byrie Street. The proposal involved a mushroom growing facility in the vacant basement of the existing apartment building. After presentation by the applicant and discussion by board members, the board voted unanimously to approve the special exception use. That was the Board of Zoning Appeals. The Green Team held a combined meeting in November and December. Discuss various projects, edible arboretum, potential future meeting locations and dates, the seed swap, garden supply swap event, and the Buy Nothing event. Attended several meetings throughout the month of December, the Economic Roundtable with state and local officials, talking about progress with the state and looking for some economic growth. We had a comprehensive plan monthly meeting in December. Frostburg first meeting in December 11th. Some updates on some projects. The comp plan rewrite held a regular meeting on December 5th. The consultant provided us with housing element of the plan back in November, and this month they presented the community facilities and economic development and tourism chapters of the plan. The next scheduled meeting of the steering committee was on January 9th. Stabilization Grant Program. Allegheny approved the funds to be distributed to the following: the Diamond Building, Lucky Building, and Hawking House. They have reached out to all three, to my knowledge, have accepted the grant funds to proceed forward. Just to touch base on the townhouse project a little bit, we are moving forward with that. Got plans to hope to have them demolished by, using grant funds, have them demolished by June 1st. We also started the record retention as required through the state of Maryland. that's gonna take a little bit of time to get that approved through them, but hopefully have that done in a few months.
The documentation.
The documentation. Yep, the record retention of the documentation on how long we gotta keep the records. So we have to type it, submit it, and they approve it, or we have to make corrections. So,
For the townhouse project, or that's the one on.
North Water Street.
Yeah, North Water Street.
Yep,
So,
I don't know if Patrick put it in there, but I do have a little update. I think he was out of town
I was.
at the work session. Bid proposal for demolition for 34, 36, and 42. We're hoping to have that out by March 1st, and this is grant funded, the
For the
demolition
demolition.
properties. Demolition site stabilization, we're hoping to have completed by June 1st, and then we'll start our developer, trying to attract developers in to start the project. So that's the plan. We'll see how it goes. Any other questions?
2 quick questions.
Uh-huh.
Back to the zoning appeals, the Board of Zoning Appeals met, and it was the special exception use. Obviously, that's going to come up later in this meeting too, so just quick question. Do you know offhand, what was the zoning, the 166 Bowery, what zone was that in? Was that R2 or 3?
I believe that's C1.
Oh, that's commercial. Okay.
That's C1, correct.
Oh, it's at the very end. It's
way at the
okay.
end of Byron.
Second question, and this might be more appropriate for Mr. Lindsay. Anything new on the Optite, what's going on down there at the former Optite site? Okay,
Nothing yet.
okay.
Not that we're aware of. We
All right.
discussed it this morning some, just
All
a
right.
little bit. So
I'm going to ask you when it's your turn. Okay,
nothing on that.
okay.
Any other questions?
Thank you, sir.
Thanks for your time.
All right, next is Finance Department, Mrs. Phillips.
I feel like it's going to poke me in the eye. Good evening. We are busy in finance, but it's not a lot to report, unfortunately. We are gearing up for the FY27 budget preparation. The budget requests are being worked on by each department, and of course, finance is working on citywide things. We're also working on the mid-year budget amendments, which I know are usually proposed at the January meeting, but being new, I'm taking my time with it, so we will have those ready for your February work session. We're still working with the auditors on the annual independent audit, not the new to report there. Real estate tax bills, as of the end of December, we've collected approximately 82% of the billings from July. And as of January 1st, all unpaid tax bills are considered late and are accruing monthly interest. Other than that, as we do every month, we encourage customers to sign up for e-billing for your tax and utility accounts by sending a request to cityhall@frostburg.org, or going onto our website under Finance and Utilities. And we also encourage customers to pay their bills online, again, at the same website. And a reminder that there's no fee to the customer for e-checks, but it is a 2.95% processing fee for debit and credit cards. And that's all I have. If there's any questions.
One, and this is, I know it says hotel motel on there that's coming up later, but this is about the current year hotel motel. We discussed briefly at the work session last week and then followed up after that about, do you think there's going to be anything left from the current year, from FY26, that could possibly be redirected or reallocated to the 250 celebration that we talked about, the Frostburg 250?
Yes,
Okay.
based on the budgeted money the money we budgeted coming in, and then what we've already allocated based on the requests last year, there should be approximately $30,000 left.
Okay.
And then, of course, if we receive more revenue, there'd be even more.
Just to clarify for those in the room and those that are listening, one of the things that we've talked about, we appointed either a month ago or 2 months ago, a couple months ago, we appointed a Frostburg 250 celebration in conjunction with a lot of other municipalities throughout the country in the state of Maryland to honor the 250th anniversary of American independence, which is this year. That committee, I believe, has met. They had one meeting last week, and we're just feeling around there to see what kinds of things Frostburg either already does or can do this year to recognize that. And there was a question of if there's any money left. We thought hotel motel might be a good place to do that. We've not allocated anything yet. We haven't assigned a number to it. Just thinking that might be an okay place to get something.
Yes, there should be funds available.
Okay. We'll follow up with that next month. Anything else?
Anything else? All right,
Thank you, ma'am.
thank you.
Mr. Lindsay.
the Public Works Monthly Report. Covers a lot of different departments. Start with Parks and Recreation. Of course, the biggest thing over the past month has been all of the holiday celebration items and then indoor things. So Storybook Holiday, that went really well. Of course, that kind of bleeds over into last month as well, but went very well. The work that Parks and Rec is actively involved in now is the food pantry. Of course, we are using in-house labor to finish that building, so they are in there working. We anticipate having the interior of the building pretty well fit out and completed by the spring. We're waiting on a few utility hookups that will probably happen in the spring, and then we intend to do a ribbon cutting sometime early summer. The biggest things in the water department is actually a retirement. Our superintendent, Jimmy Williams, who has worked for the city of Frostburg since 43 years. So, it was 43 years of experience, hard to replace, but we'll keep on trucking ahead. We have a lot of good guys in-house. In terms of actual things going on in the water department, it is mostly preparations for preventative maintenance projects. So doing water line layouts for this coming summer, meter replacements. We try to do stuff that is hard to do outside, inside now. We try to do the inside stuff now. Within the street department, another retirement. Kevin Kurgan, who has been in the street department for 28 years, is also retiring. He was our street sweeper operator. So if you've seen someone around town operating a street sweeper, that's him. Within that actual department, of course, it's the garbage collection, sanitation, street paving, pothole patching, things like that. So predominantly what we do at this time of year is plowing, salting, staying up to date on that, cycling guys in and out. Within the engineering department, most of what we are working on has been PACE preparation and then our City of Frostburg Water Resiliency Project, which we will be presenting to the state of Maryland. That's something we've been working on for approximately 2 years, and that involves some water source redundancy programs, some technology upgrades to improve efficiency and energy costs, and then just a few things to add resiliency to our system. Those are all engineering and planning design related. Other than that, we do have a couple projects that we are prepping for to open in the spring, which would be the Braddock Road Roundabout, along with several CSO projects that will take place near the Mountain Ridge neighborhood, but we'll talk about those during the CSO monthly public hearing. That is the bulk of what is going on. If there are any questions, happy to answer them.
Two.
Sure.
One, the same question that I asked John. Is there anything new on the Appetit?
Yeah, so I don't want to speak for the owner. At the end of the day, it is still their property to kind of make plans about. As it stands now, we have been meeting with them to kind of work out what it might be, how we can kind of just help facilitate things, not necessarily give them a handout, but to help kind of plan with them. And again, I do not speak for the owner in any way at all, so please don't quote me on this. But several ideas have been thrown out there. A park-let has been talked about. A parking lot has been talked about. The hope of attracting an investor to put a building on there, something small, has been talked about. Again, I do not speak for the owner, just talking about conversations that have been had.
Question two, have you dug a hole yet?
We're up there. I don't anticipate getting it done before PACE.
Okay.
But we're prepared to pivot and present regardless.
Okay.
So,
Are we waiting on anything? I know we were waiting on a permit from the state for a while.
just mobilization, getting everybody together and
Okay.
getting it done. So we'll either make it tomorrow or we'll probably make it Thursday as it's happening. That'll probably be the case.
Okay.
So, but we're prepared either way.
Do you want to give a brief update on the concession stand, Duke?
Oh, I forgot about that. Oh, yeah, so the Glendenning Park, specifically Lions Softball Park concession stand is done. The last thing we're waiting on is the epoxy floor. We're strategically waiting on that until the spring, summer, because it's just too cold to pour epoxy over concrete right now. It'll pop right up. The concession stand that the tree fell on, that we completely leveled off, is now back and active and ready to be used this summer. We have a couple different camps there, a couple different sporting teams that play there. So we were anxious to get that pavilion brought back. And that was all paid for with insurance funds. The city of Frostburg did not come up with the funds to pay for that concession stand. That was insurance money that paid for that.
Last one, the fire suppression system at the Armory.
Yes, so we have been working with Stevens Electric to upgrade and renew the retrofit, really, the fire and emergency systems at the Armory building. That is a triple use building. It's actually our street department shop. It is a recreation complex, and it is an office building that we lease to Maryland Department of the Environment, specifically the Bureau of Mines Division. So given that it is a multi-use building, the safety and fire parameters are very strict, and we had to basically retrofit the entire system that's in there. It was very expensive. However, we did get grant funding through the Rocky Gap Funds proceeds program, to pay for half of them. The total cost is about ballpark $80,000. We've gotten about $39,000 in grant funding to pay for that. And it was an upgrade that we had to make, or we were not going to be able to use the facility at all based on the fire marshal's office. So that project is underway. Stevens Electric is in there, starting the groundwork, running conduit, doing some mapping, and we anticipate that being complete in about a month.
Anything else? Thanks, sir.
Oh, thank you.
And last one is the police department, Chief Costello.
Good evening, Mayor and Commissioners. I have the report for the Police Department for the month of December 2025. We had 527 incidents. We always do a little comparison to the year before. We had 394 incidents logged in December of 24. As always, and as you can see on the screen, we had a variety of incidents. We had 14 arrests of various types, including on-view arrests and/or criminal citations, criminal summonses served, and one juvenile arrest or juvenile referral to DJS. We had one C3I investigation referred, 5 logged community policing activities. And I always say community policing is really a day-to-day philosophy. It's an approach to policing. But sometimes if we have a specific activity, we log that first. So for example, in December, we had Shop with a Cop, and we had Cocoa with a Popo during Storybook Holiday, some of those really concrete events to log. We had 42 parking citations written or parking complaints. We had 22 well-being checks, 1 emergency petition, 25 requests for a police officer, 14 follow-ups that were logged, and 29 disturbances of various sorts. We had 6 motor vehicle crashes, 4 DWI arrests, and 63 traffic stops. So as always, pretty diverse array of activities. That was through December. I focus a lot, as you know, on the positive, the community engagement activities we do. I talked about them last meeting, so I'll keep that a little short because 2 of our biggest ones were in December, but I already spoke about them. Shop with a Cop was a great success. It's organized by the Cumberland Valley Optimist Club. And I would say there were about 60 kids there, something like that. It was really nice. It grows every year, and that's all run by, funded by community donations from individuals, community groups, organizations, businesses, that sort of thing. Very nice event. And just the week before that, we had Cocoa with the Popo during Storybook Holiday. I believe I heard from the Children's Literature Center the number of kids might have been about 1,200, and we certainly had hundreds and their parents through the police station, their families. So very nice time. Though I always focus on our community engagement, our positive, our day-to-day work, our officers do handle very serious incidents. Over the last few weeks, we've had 2 domestics involving firearms. One was in the Spring Street area. There was a domestic disturbance where an individual produced a handgun and discharged a round before trying to hide or dispose of the handgun. We arrested him and located the handgun and took that into evidence. We also had an incident on West Mechanic Street where a woman was shot during a domestic disturbance. She is okay, but she had actually produced the gun during this disturbance. The male got into a struggle with her over it, and it discharged and shot her. But she was stabilized at the hospital. The male was charged with a pretrial release violation. She was charged with reckless endangerment, but we were there all night securing the house, making arrests and getting search warrants with C3I. So just want to, remind everybody that we have a lot of good, positive things, but our officers do handle very serious and very dangerous incidents. We also have one officer on light duty or medical leave right now because he was injured when a DUI suspect fought the officers on the arrest. So hopefully he'll be back in a few weeks, but we've certainly seen our share of action lately. Other than that, I'm pleased to announce that First Sergeant Nathan Curry has become certified as a drug recognition expert, or what's called a DRE. Takes a lot of training, weeks. He had to go out of town several times. They actually went to Philadelphia with their police department to do a lot of practice runs, essentially, during their training. The whole group went there. So he's qualified as a drug recognition expert. He can do cases for us, and he can also do evaluations for allied agencies. So we get a lot of help from our neighboring agencies, from the sheriff's office, from the state police, FSU, and it's nice when we have a resource that we can share too and use for our own city. And lastly, I know we talked at the work session about some complaints about extended parking on Main Street. So last week we wrote 12 citations over 2 days for either 2-hour parking violations or 20-minute parking violations. Other than that, that would conclude my report unless you have any questions or would like me to elaborate.
Just one. So the year-over-year comparison from month to month, the last several months, it's been pretty steady, a little bit one way, but I mean, this month, December of 24 over 25, it's almost a 30% difference. Is there anything special you attribute that to? I mean, more parking enforcement, but that's not 130 some incidents.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's probably patrol checks. Without looking, I always have to go back and compare. But you know, our officers are routinely on patrol. Some officers, more than others, will call in and log specific patrol checks. So we basically do a specific patrol check, maybe if there's been a series of crimes in a neighborhood, or if a business is concerned that maybe, I'm just making this up, and maybe there had been an employee that had a bad relation with a partner or a domestic issue, or maybe they had a crime, they might ask for patrol checks, or somebody might ask for that for their house. So sometimes people will log them. Some people do it anyway when they go like to the parks and other areas. So without looking, that would be my guess, because I don't think we had a high change in call volume or anything like that.
Okay.
How are the new officers doing?
Oh, doing very well, doing very well. So Michaela Thomas came out of the academy in August and did her field training. She's done a spectacular job. And Colton Lucas, actually, he's the one off-duty injured. He's done a fantastic job, especially with DUI enforcement. And that individual decided to fight them, so he has basically a leg or ankle injury, but he hopefully will be back soon. But they've both done a fantastic job.
And Officer Thomas is out on her own now. She's done with the
Yes, sir.
probationary?
Yeah, she is out on her own, spectacular. And actually, we're hiring now. So the last couple of weeks, we've been doing a pre-employment PT test, physical fitness test for folks to hopefully move on to interviews and go to the academy in Sykesville.
Any bites yet?
Yeah, I was there for the first one. They've been spread out a little bit, but the first individual did a fantastic job on his PT test. He blew it out of the water. Seemed very articulate. So what they're going to do next is the academy in Sykesville has their own entrance PT test. So we essentially do ours to make sure it appears they could likely pass before we take the time to drive down there. So I know he looked really good, and sometime before the end of January, they'll be going to Sykesville for their test to be admitted to the academy.
Got it.
And Chief, you have a retirement and a new hire as well?
Yes, I am very excited to say that PCO2, Regina Bennett, is retiring. She's been with the city for 16 years. She started in 2010. She's a very low-profile, low-key person. Very nice, very dedicated employee, but she did not want to be recognized at the meeting, but she is happy to take a picture with us before she departs. So certainly have appreciated her service, and we'll miss having her here. But we've already hired a new dispatcher who is Bennett, and the other folks have been or will be training throughout the month of January. So she is about 2 weeks in. She's done a great job too.
Good.
Yes, sir. Thank you for the reminder. And anything else?
Thank you, Chief.
Thank you all. Thank you, Mayor, Commissioners. Good evening.
Appreciate it. And that is all the department reports. We can have a motion now.
Make a motion to approve all monthly reports of all city departments.
Second?
Duly moved and seconded to approve all of the reports of the various city departments. Any further discussion on that? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. City department reports for December are approved. Moving on then to item 8B. This is hotel motel requests for FY27. Is this you?
Jonathan should go in. So this is just to announce that requests, the period for putting requests in for hotel motel tax revenue is open. So if you're a part of an organization or a group that would like funding for community-focused events, they are due to us by Tuesday, February 17th. They can be emailed directly to me at pobryan@frostburgcity.org.
Very good. All right, moving on then to item 9 on the agenda, which is our required monthly public hearings. So we'll do CSO first, required hearing for CSO.
All right, back again. So not much change in the CSO project from last month. Again, phase 10A is wrapped up. We already have State of Maryland final approval, and we are just doing some final paperwork, crossing the T's, dotting the I's with that project. For all intents and purposes, it is complete. And then the next ones that we are actively planning for and getting ready for is Phase 10B and Phase 10C in the Mountain Ridge neighborhood between Mountain Ridge High School over to Green Street, and then from Main down to McCullough. It is a two-phase project. Both phases will run simultaneously. Traffic, of course, will be a major concern of ours to make sure that we are phasing it in such a way that you can always get through. The big thing that we have been making sure is clear during these monthly public hearings, I think this makes 1 year of it, 1 year's worth of meetings, is that on Washington Street, sidewalks will be added to both sides of the street. On McCullough Street, a sidewalk will be added to the bottom side of the street, and on Cemetery, a sidewalk will be added to the bottom side. To be clear, sidewalks had been present in all of those locations in the past. The city owns the property that the sidewalks will go on. We are just bringing them back. A big part of this project is walkability and pedestrian safety. I just feel it is pertinent to make it clear that there will be new, in appearance, sidewalks in all of those areas. This is just to make it clear so everyone gets a chance to hear it.
So on Washington Street, the sidewalk on the upper side ends, I don't know what the address is, and then there are like 5, 6 houses until you get to Nancy Grassmick Lane.
Yep.
Is it going to be extended all the way?
Correct.
Okay.
Yep, on both sides, it will extend all the way to the school.
Very good. Anything else on the CSO?
Thank you.
Okay. Moving on then to item 9B, this is the public hearing for ordinance 2026-01. We have quite a crowd here, and just so that everyone's clear on how this works, because I know some folks attend a lot of council meetings and some folks maybe not so many. I'm going to read the rules very briefly for how public comment works. So this is Rule 13 under our meeting rules, public open comment and participation. Members of the public should be afforded the opportunity to make comment during the course of an open meeting as provided for herein. President, that's me, I guess, shall determine the order in which members of the public are permitted to speak. Upon being selected, that person must approach the microphone and state his or her name and address. Remarks must be directed to the matter under consideration, except during open public comment portion of the meeting, which is at the very end, at which time those comments must be directly related to the conduct of any city government business. Agenda items may not be addressed during open public comment. Each person desiring to address the council should be allotted 5 minutes to do so. As to each agenda item, persons who wish to speak during the public comment section of, let me start that sentence again. Persons who wish to speak during the public comment section of a meeting shall also have 5 minutes to do so, subject to the limitation that agenda items may not be discussed during the public comment section of the meeting. The time limits provided for herein must be applied evenly without exception. Members of the council shall wait to address their questions, comments, and responses until the speaker concludes his or her comments. The questions and answers shall not be included within the aforesaid time allocations. Members of the public may not transfer their time allocations to other people. The president may limit comments that are substantially similar to comments made by other people during the course of a meeting. The president may also limit comments if the speaker has addressed the matter in a substantially similar manner during the course of at least 2 prior meetings. So that's what we'll do here. So this is ordinance 2026-01, ordinance to amend the city's zoning ordinance by adding artisan/small manufacturing land use as a special exception use in all residential districts and changing the classification of that use from a special exception use to a permitted use in all commercial districts. It's to be recognized by Mr. Miller, but I think we're going to have Mr. Klink do it instead.
Hello, everybody. My name is Jamie Klink. I am the city planner. Ahead of the public hearing, I just had a very quick overview of where we're at with the artisan small-scale manufacturing land use. Currently, it is provided for in the Frostburg zoning ordinance as a special exception use in commercial districts, which would require a favorable recommendation from the Frostburg Planning Commission and then also approval by the Frostburg Board of Zoning Appeals prior to being allowed. And as it stands currently, that land use is not permitted in residential districts. So what we're proposing, that land use, the artisan small-scale manufacturing land use, be allowed as a principal permitted use in all commercial districts. That would allow city staff to approve that at a staff level, as provided that it adheres to all regulations listed in section 8.2 of the zoning ordinance, which deals with that land use. And then we would also add that as a special exception use in residential districts, which would, like it currently stands with the commercial, it would require a special exception that would require a favorable recommendation from the Frostburg Planning Commission, and then also approval by the Board of Zoning Appeals before it would be allowed. And just the intent of this amendment, really, we're just looking to allow for flexible usage of property owners to use their property, utilize any existing space that might not be used, to allow them to pursue small and not very intensive business activities, ones that would not require a larger building or a larger facility, something that they could do in their, on their property without requiring larger facilities. That would also allow the city to better track and regulate these types of business activities. We would, by providing appropriate regulations that they must adhere to, and in order for them to continue those operations, they would have to continue to adhere to those regulations. And also, in order to qualify under this use, all these business activities must be very small in nature, no large trucks or excessive traffic, and no or very minimal impact would be allowed on the surrounding neighborhood, especially with regard to noise, odors, fumes, dust, or any similar pollutants. But that's just kind of a very quick overview of what this ordinance is hoping to achieve.
Okay.
You want to do the second reading now, or you want to go to vote?
No. We should do the hearing first, and then the Okay. So first, is there anybody from Mr. Klink? This was proposed by staff. This was proposed by the Planning Commission. Where did this idea originate?
Yeah, so we originally proposed this as just as a permitted use in commercial districts. And then in discussions with the Planning Commission at their public hearing, or public meeting, I believe in October, it was also discussed about adding this as a special exception in residential districts. And so that's where that kind of came from. And what brought this on originally, as we kind of discussed earlier, the mushroom growing business, it had to go through a full public hearing process for it to be in a commercial zone, whereas had that not, we had to do that, and what this ordinance would provide for, at least in commercial zones, it would allow us as staff to look at that section 8.2 of the zoning ordinance and be able to determine that, yes, it meets all of these criteria. It won't need to go before the Board of Zoning Appeals. We could approve that at that level.
Okay. All right, we'll move on to the public comment section now. Is there anyone from the Planning Commission here who wants to stand up and talk about what's going on here, what the Planning Commission's feeling is? Mr. Snyder.
I guess I'll jump off and talk real quick. So, Jeff Snyder, Planning Commission member for the city. As Jamie was pointing out, the intention and the idea of this was, from a bureaucratic standpoint, from a workable standpoint, the activities that fall into the artisan in themselves are commercial. So because of that, you would be coming to us for a special exemption. The board discussed and thought that those activities in themselves are commercial, so should be allowable in the commercial without coming for a special exemption. further staff, as we were talking to staff, then you have these situations where these activities would be occurring in residential areas. So the thought process was, if this is occurring now, the best way to regulate it is to have a special exemption process, to bring it to the city, to bring it to the board. For those people that are doing this, then would not run afoul of other provisions within zoning, and therefore we could permit it. And the other one is, to that, it would be regulated, and as things would grow, if there were issues with neighbors, there's a process. We could limit size to that, we could put conditions on that. So if someone were to want to do something in a residential zone, those could be controlled. So at the end, I mean, that was our thought process, and why we made the recommendation.
Okay. Okay.
Any questions, thoughts?
I just have one, but I think it's what a lot of people are going to talk about, so I don't want to steal their thunder. So, thank you, sir. All right, we'll just go down the list in the order that folks signed in. First is Lee Beeman.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, Council. Thank you for the opportunity to speak this evening. Generally speaking, I think ordinances like this are a good idea when implemented correctly. I believe that removing bureaucratic red tape can oftentimes be a good thing. Here I think we need to pump the brakes and look at this ordinance a little more closely before we take any further action. I'd urge you to look at, first and foremost, I believe the language with regard to the commercial uses, commercial districts, is entirely appropriate. With regard to the residential districts, I think you're missing language that would be very important in order to put those restrictions in place. The way it appears to me is that in 2019, you all drafted the definition of what an artisan small-scale manufacturing business was. At that time, those businesses were only permitted in commercial districts. By even through the special exception process, they were entirely prohibited in residential. The definition of artisan small-scale manufacturing certainly bears that idea behind it. One of the main issues that I see with the definition is that the artisan small manufacturing can be permitted as the primary use under the current definition that you have. To permit a manufacturing business, even on a small scale, as the primary use of a building in a residential district, I think really flies contrary to the protections that the zoning code tries to put in place for residential districts. That's not to say that you can't do this right. I think if you look to your zoning code to section 8.1, you define home occupations. And I think there's good examples in there of how you could make this artisan small manufacturing work in some of the residential districts. Within the home occupation, for example, in the R1 district, if the home profession is one that would have customers or clients coming to that location, it's required to go through the special exception process. There's limits on, for example, or there's parking requirements, off-site parking requirements, that the residence is required to meet off-site parking requirements instead of just having those customers, clients parked on the street. And there's also square footage requirements, and again, most significantly, under the home occupation provision, that home occupation must be an accessory use. It's not the primary use of the property. So I would greatly urge you to pump the brakes on this in order to look at additional restrictions that should be put in place. Again, I don't know that this isn't something that you can figure out that you can make work in some of the residential districts. I would urge you, however, to very seriously consider not permitting the these uses in the R1 district. Your code specifically provides that in the R1, the purpose is to have single household residential uses of low density and to protect those existing areas where custom and usage has established this pattern. I've lived in both R1 and R2 districts in Frostburg. When I lived in an R2 district, we certainly had more traffic. I think something like this would be more expected in that district. But in the R1 district, I don't think this is expected. I don't think it's customary. One of my family members, extended family, had Coop's Buns, which started exactly like what we're talking about here. And the amount of customers that they sold to on a daily basis, I can't imagine that kind of traffic in my neighborhood up by Glendenning Park. That's one of the best things about living in my neighborhood. It's one of the things that I love for my kids is that they have a group of 8 or 10 of them that they ride from the park to the freeze to each other's houses. They ride their bikes. I don't know, I'd feel comfortable with that if there was that level of traffic in the R1 district like that. So I believe, in summation, that the commercial districts, I think you have it right. I think those should be permitted. In the residential districts, I would ask that you look at additional regulations, additional restrictions, and for the R1 district, I would ask that you would consider not permitting those at all. Thank you.
Your address is?
Oh, I'm sorry. Lee Beeman, 219 Shaw Street, Frostburg, Maryland. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Beeman. Next is Andrew DePalatis.
Andrew D. Pilatus, 43 Summit Place here in Frostburg. You're all familiar with P.S. Hair Design, located right here on Broadway. For years, her mother operated a beauty salon out of her home up on Centennial Street. Armstrong Insurance, for decades, Ruth and Jack Armstrong made a good living with their insurance business in their enclosed porch. You look at the Fiber Depot here in town. For many years, Mrs. Ward had a business in her front parlor here a block or so on Broadway. You look at these businesses that we now have here in town, P.S. Hair Design. Imagine if she had made the decision to operate that out of her home. What would Storybook Holiday look like? Armstrong Insurance, Slug and Barb Armstrong, could easily have had a very successful business, not in the business district, had a good income and a good life. The Fiber Depot is a destination. Mrs. Ward did it out of her front parlor. The difference in these people and these businesses is that the city has worked very hard for a very long time to strengthen our community and our business district through programs that are available specifically concentrating on the business district. We have a designated historic district, which is not easy to get. That comes with money. Of course, that also comes with old buildings that take a lot of maintenance. The Main Street program, I was here when that was established. That was a real tough row to hoe, and we still have the Main Street business, whose purpose is to work with historic traditional town centers to create thriving communities. If you have a beautiful historic district filled with great businesses, it attracts tourists, it becomes a way to promote your community. Little businesses distributed out in the neighborhoods don't have that collective strength of benefit. The Arts District. I don't know if you all know, we established an arts district, which is really a difficult thing to achieve for our little town. I was involved with that and the Main Street program. The arts district includes Wood Street and Center Street. I don't know if you all know, who were looking at changing this ordinance, realize that with an arts and entertainment district, people, artisans who live in the district, produce their art and sell their art within the district are eligible I don't think they have to pay state income tax on that income. I don't know if any of you or all of you are aware of that, or if you've ever promoted it. And there were two reasons to do the Wood Street and Center Street connection to the university when we were established the Arts and Entertainment District. Those are small homes. Some of them have detached garages on the backs of the properties, which would be perfect for studios. Neighborhoods like the one I live in were never intended for mixed use. The Main Street program, like anything, there's peaks and valleys, and I look around now and I see a number of empty spaces. Now, if we were at a peak, all the spaces were filled, we were bursting at the seams, I would say, yeah, consider maybe certain types of businesses out in the neighborhoods just to sort of hold them close until space could open up for them. But we are much stronger as a collective when it comes to supporting our businesses than we would be if everything was spread out within the communities. So, anyway, I vote no. I think it kind of works against everything that has been tried. The mushroom business, I could see where that wouldn't really have a bad effect, but the residential districts were never intended for mixed use. And I think if you want to do a business out of your home in a residential neighborhood, you should have to come before a commission and explain what that involves. But I think your job to make our city stronger is to promote our business district. If I had I have had, but I don't have a property now on Main Street, but if I had a property with an empty space, I'm surprised there aren't a lot of landlords here, kind of incensed, saying, I could have had that tenant. And there are opportunities for pop-up businesses. Our spaces are small, thank goodness. Our rents are low. So I think allowing people to bypass all of that and take their strength away from what the potential would be for themselves and for our city if they located in the business district, I think it would be a disservice.
Next is Paul DePolatis.
Paul DePolatis at 43 Summit Place in Frostburg. I'll be a little bit more brief. I am not in favor of this ordinance. I think there was one that was attempted some years back that was not implemented. My biggest concern is I think this will just eventually lead to degradation of the R1 district, which is what it is now. It'll be degraded, and I'm not in favor of it.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Right. Next is Pete Conklin.
Yeah, I realized I signed in, but I just came here to learn about this.
Okay, thank you, sir. Next is Gene Harris.
Yeah.
Gene Harris Jr., 83 East Main. I also have a property on Main Street with a home up on Albert Avenue, 215 Albert Avenue. I'm opposed to this change in zoning. I think the brakes need to be put on, as somebody else has said. I think a lot of people in town have no idea this is coming, and having a legal notice in the newspaper every other week or something, not everybody gets the paper. Not everybody reads and digests the paper, nor do they know what's going to happen here. There are no sidewalks up near Frost Elementary School, Glendenning Park neighborhood, if you will. Braddock Estates, I don't think has sidewalks. Many areas don't have sidewalks. The volume of traffic that will come in because of this change without sidewalks is going to end up with somebody getting hurt. So, and I don't think the people know this is happening. Put it to a referendum, see what happens. See if the people come out to vote against it. I think they would. So I hope you all just hit the brakes. Let's study this some more. Let's stop it.
Thank you, sir. All right, next is Kit Pepper, Lescalet.
Kit Pepper, 211 James Court. I think everyone has done a wonderful job of explaining many reasons why the R1 neighborhoods need to be excluded from this. As you all know, I owned a business on Main Street. I encouraged small artisans to sell their wares and do shows and do all of those things. And I value the fact that Frostburg is a home to people who are creative, who commercialize their creativity in wonderful ways. However, neighborhoods that are exclusively residential do not benefit businesses that open there. We have in Frostburg, as Andrea did such a great job showing, we have lots of opportunity in our condensed commercial area where we need those businesses. And when my business is next door to your business, you benefit from the business I get, and I get back and forth. If I'm back on James Court behind a corner, then all of the traffic that I generate for my business is only because I spend money to get them there. So I just don't see any reason for it. I also think that in Allegheny County, Frostburg is unique in that it has 3 beautiful R1 neighborhoods. We also have, and correct me if I'm wrong, the biggest employer of people who come from other parts of the United States to live here. And I can tell you that when you move from other cities, you expect to buy a house often in a neighborhood that's a neighborhood of residential homes. In rural communities where houses are on a state road and you have an acre of property and then another house and an acre of property and maybe a cow field, and then you have a house and somebody has a beauty shop in the garage, that's one thing. But when you're in a neighborhood and the houses are right next to each other, if you have a business next door to you, and Mr. Beeman did a great job of pointing out, you're allowing a residential home to be the primary usage of that business. The person doesn't even have to live there. That's a big negative. And I think the city needs to look at the possibility of, I think you're going to reduce your property taxes over a period of years if this becomes a thing, because maybe it won't reduce the property values, but I certainly think it could impede the growth of them, and that's going to be less income for you. And I don't think anybody's going to be happy with that at all. So I ask you, the only thing that I ask is that you just exclude the R1 neighborhoods and preserve these jewels that you have here in Frostburg. I think it adds to the attractiveness of the area and the value and the future. And I think by forcing businesses to be in commercial areas, we're building stronger businesses that way. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Next is Kelly Mears.
Hi, y'all. I live at 58 Linden Street. Thankful for the opportunity to speak on the zoning ordinance. A lot of what I would like to comment on has been raised here, so I'll try to be brief. I think what's really important to add to this conversation is a question to this board around the impetus for bringing it forward. What I'm hearing from this board is that a strong impetus is that these things already exist and we'd like to bring them forward to do so, to exist in compliance. My question to you is, if this were to pass, what is the plan to even bring those businesses to compliance and ask them to come forward to present themselves to the zoning board? From what I understand, there wouldn't really be any actual impetus. They could continue doing their thing and operating underneath regulation and expectation without some sort of action to go and find and identify these individual businesses that are, in theory, operating without doing so in good graces with the city. My other question is, I understand that part of this has to do with still requiring some exception from the zoning commission. And my question, because this is a volunteer zoning board, is what types of training are we offering to those individual volunteers to help them consider what the longer term implications are when they are reviewing these types of decisions? Those are my two primary questions. What I heard a lot of just now, and I will very much reiterate my preference towards, is that people don't know that this is happening and what it means that this is happening. And so I would encourage just a slowing of the brakes, educating our public, and giving them a chance to offer their feedback in a position that is not simply at 5 o'clock p.m. On a school night. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. That is everyone who has signed up. Is there anyone present who didn't sign up but who maybe now wishes to speak? This is strictly on the zoning ordinance. Mr. Conklin.
I just want to second Pete Conklin, 6 Mill Street. I'm actually in C1, so I don't count. But I'd like to second the people who think this should be on the ballot, just to democracy.
Okay. Thank you, sir. All right. Anyone else who hasn't yet spoken? Okay. This concludes then the public hearing portion for ordinance 26-01. Unless there's anything else from staff, Mr. Kling? Nothing. Okay. We'll move then into old business. So this is the second reading of ordinance 2026-01. Let me see where we're at here. There we go. Ordinance 26-01, an ordinance of the mayor and city council of the city of Frostburg entitled an ordinance to amend the city's zoning ordinance by adding the artisan small-scale manufacturing land use as a special exception use in all residential districts and changing the classification of that use from a special exception use to a permitted use in all commercial districts. The text of the ordinance has been circulated and copies were made available to folks, yes? All right, so this is the second reading of the ordinance. Mr. Klink, anything before we move on to?
No additional comments, but did you want me to just read the ordinance?
Yes, that'd be fine.
Okay. So yeah, ordinance 26-01. Whereas the city of Frostburg is a municipal corporation of the state of Maryland, organized and operating under a charter adopted in accordance with the laws of the state of Maryland, whereas Article 5, Sections 501 and 502 of the charter empower the city of Frostburg to regulate matters of zoning within the city, whereas the city of Frostburg zoning ordinance is set forth in Appendix A of the Frostburg Code, whereas artisan small-scale manufacturing uses are defined and described in Section 8.2 of the zoning ordinance, whereas presently artisan small-scale manufacturing uses are not permitted in residential zoning districts and they are special exception uses in commercial zoning districts, whereas to promote economic development opportunities, the Department of Community Development proposed amending the zoning ordinance to allow such uses as special exception uses in all residential districts and as permitted uses in all commercial districts. Whereas the Frostburg Planning Commission reviewed the proposed amendments at its November 12, 2025 public meeting and voted to recommend that the mayor and council adopt them. Whereas a public hearing on this ordinance was held on the 20th day of January 2026 during the city's regular monthly meeting. And whereas the mayor and city council reviewed the Planning Commission's recommendations and having considered the testimony at the public hearing, if any, adopt them as set forth hereinafter. Okay. Now, therefore, Section 1, be it ordained that the mayor and city council of Frostburg, that Part 3 of Appendix A of the city code, the primary district regulations, is amended by adding subsections 3.1.c.8, 3.2.c.17, 3.3.c.17, 3.4.c.17, 3.5.c.18, 3.6.c.9, 3.7.b.22, 3.a.b.37, 3.9.b.33, and 3.10.b.12 to its terms, each of which shall state artisan small-scale manufacturing in accordance with Section 8.2. Section 2, be it further ordained that Sections 3.7.c.11, 3.8.c.12, 3.9.c.16, and 3.10.c.9 of Appendix A of the City Code are deleted in their entirety. And Section 3, be it further ordained that the first use regulation table for residential uses at the beginning of Part 3 of the zoning ordinance is amended to include a new row for artisan small-scale manufacturing uses at the end of the table to provide as follows. And there is a table listing all of the, oh, it is on there as well. Listing the allowed uses in each specific zone. And Section 4, be it ordained by the mayor and city council of Frostburg that this ordinance shall take effect 20 days from the date of its passage.
Okay. All right, so that's the text of ordinance 26-01.
I'm going to make a motion that we table this.
Motion has been made and seconded to table ordinance 2026-01 to discuss further among staff and council.
Back to the drawing board.
Okay. Motion is to table. Any further discussion among council on that?
I do have a question for Jamie. In my mind, I was thinking mainly the extension of this to the residential areas was for small startups that don't yet have the wherewithal to rent a space in a commercial zone. So then, like a small home, you know, there's a special term I can't remember for somebody who can craft kitchen or something like that. Somebody who's starting like a baking business but doesn't can't commercialize it yet. They would then just kind of be flying under the radar if they're doing it in a residential area, if we don't extend this, so.
Yeah, as it stands currently,
Okay.
yes, that's how it would be.
I mean, personally, I felt that it was kind of, we had some questions at the work session in regards to the residential stuff anyway, but I was kind of under the impression that it was just, somebody making something and going and selling it at a craft fair somewhere, not really having any traffic at the house per se. But, the stuff that goes on right now, like was mentioned, but, people taking pictures and selling them at the Arts Walk and things like that. That's kind of where my thought process was on this from the get-go. But yeah, I do think it does definitely need some discussion.
Yeah, I think I agree with the principle of the ordinance and the way that Mr. Snyder explained it from the Planning Commission. I think in principle, the idea of permitting, very, very small scale startup things, people who are not yet ready to go into commercial storefronts, or people who are not ready to buy things. I think that was the intention, but certainly the way that it's written, maybe the language could be cleaned up here. So I think I'm also in support of. We'll table this, and we can either rewrite it or amend it or whatever.
Traffic
the process
definitely
is.
has to be a consideration. So does garbage disposal.
Mhm.
And then I think a lot of the regulations do take care of things like noise and odors and pollution and stuff like that. But yeah, traffic I think is like one of the big ones that was raised. Also the primary usage, I think that's a big one.
Yeah.
Yeah. I had that written down and forgot to mention it. Yeah, primary use. I'm not certain, if somebody's running a business that's small enough that they can't afford to rent, commercial store frontage, I don't know that they're going to buy
It shouldn't
a
be.
$250,000 house to do that out of. But that's possible, I guess.
If they inherit it, then so it shouldn't be permitted.
My only question, I guess, for among council is, do we want to consider amending the motion to just delete the residential section and leave the commercial in there for now?
I think we still need to discuss some more.
Okay.
Because
Okay.
I think it's not enough just to delete the
Okay.
R1.
Okay. Anything further on council? Any comment or discussion among the public on that? So the motion in front of us is to table the ordinance. Seeing nothing from the public, as many as are in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Ordinance 26-01 is tabled to a further meeting. That's it for old business. Moving then into new business. We're looking at ordinance 2026-02. This will be the first reading of this ordinance, so nothing's happening tonight.
Ordinance number 2026-02, an ordinance of the mayor and city council of the city of Frostburg, Maryland, entitled an ordinance to repeal and reenact sections 4.01 and 4.02 of Appendix D of the city code, the rental housing code, pertaining to rental housing standards and fire safety. Whereas the city's rental housing ordinance is included in the city code as Appendix D. Whereas Section 4.02 of the rental housing ordinance sets forth fire safety standards applicable to rental housing, including a requirement that all smoke detectors be interconnected. Whereas the mayor and city council had determined that verifying proper fire and smoke separation assemblies in rental properties with adjoining rental units is impractical. Whereas the rental housing ordinance needs to be updated to reflect state law requirements pertaining to carbon monoxide alarms. See subtitle 11 of Title 12 of the Public Safety article of the Annotated Code of Maryland. Whereas the mayor and city council are enacting this ordinance to modify the interconnection requirements and update provisions pertaining to carbon monoxide alarms in Appendix D of the city code. Now therefore, Section 1, be it ordained by the mayor and city council of Frostburg, Maryland, that sections 4.01 and 4.02 of Appendix D of the city code are repealed and reenacted to read as it's set forth in Exhibit A, attached hereto. Section 2, be it further ordained that any person found guilty of violating Section 4.02D of the rental housing ordinance, tampering with life safety devices, shall be subject to a fine of $1,000. The schedule of fines for municipal infractions, presently Section 2-12 of City Code, shall be amended accordingly.
Okay.
We'll read Exhibit A.
Or summarize it at least.
Yeah.
So what we're doing, the current code states that all smoke detectors in multiple units need to be interconnected if it doesn't have a firewall in between them. We're unable to determine whether there's a proper firewall in between them, and interconnecting them is not going to work. So we're going to remove that, follow the IPMC 2012, which that's what that recommends. We're just taking the language out. The current code says we're to have them interconnected. We're taking that out for the time being. So they're still going to follow everything else, and then we're inserting in the carbon monoxide, which I can read that. It's pretty short. Carbon monoxide alarms. Before it was in the code where they had to be interconnected, but the state of Maryland doesn't require that. This is straight from the fire marshal's office. Definition: carbon monoxide alarm means that a device that senses carbon monoxide. When sensing carbon monoxide is capable of emitting a distinct and audible sound. Is listed and carries the listing of national recognized testing laboratory approved by the Office of State Fire Marshal. And is wired into alternating current power line with secondary battery backup. Is battery powered, sealed, tamper resistant, and uses a long life battery that has a life of not less than 10 years. Is connected to an on-site control unit that monitors the carbon monoxide alarm remotely so that the responsible party is alerted when the device activates the alarm signal and receives its primary power from the battery control. That was not in the ordinance, the carbon monoxide detail, but that is added. So what's being removed is the interconnectivity for the smoke detectors.
Now, smoke detectors are still required to be interconnected in a unit based on the IPMC code, which says one on each level must be interconnected to each other. So we're not taking that away. It's just at some point in time, when this code was written by us a long time ago, part of this did not get taken out when the code changed to where you had to have a battery operated smoke detector in every bedroom. So our code was going back and saying that every single smoke detector in the house had to be interconnected, which was tough for a lot of people, to do. Yeah, so within the unit, there's still interconnected smoke detectors. But
Yeah, that's still staying. All rental units shall have at least one UL approved AC smoke alarm with battery backup on each floor of the dwelling, including basement. But it's also going to have the 10-year life outside the sleeping areas.
And the new state law for carbon monoxide detectors actually increases the number of carbon monoxide detectors in units compared to what our was.
I'm not quite sure I understand the third whereas, determining that verifying proper fire and smoke separation assemblies in rental properties with adjoining rental units is impractical.
So one of the reasonings for our code for having interconnected smoke detectors between units. So if there's 3 apartments that are in one building, if we couldn't, if they didn't have a proper firewall between the units, that they would have to interconnect them between apartments and things like that.
But we can't tell whether they have a firewall?
Not without causing considerable damage.
Yeah, there are ways to do it, but in order for it to be a true firewall, we would have to inspect things that we may not have access to, like opening up walls and things like that. We don't want to necessarily just depend on blueprints or something, because so many things can change over the years. So it just wasn't practical to really have that be the reason we would do that. And IPMC never had that in there. That was one of those things that we tried to add in the past. So with that kind of conflict, it was decided to just go back to IPMC's regulations. And IPMC's regulations does state that all smoke detectors should be interconnected, but there's exceptions for buildings that haven't been renovated. When a rental facility is renovated or they open up the wall for electric and things like that,
That's when you can
they
see.
would have to then upgrade, yes. So eventually they'll all get there, is the goal.
Right. I would entertain a motion at this time for first reading of ordinance 26-02.
I'll make a motion to approve ordinance 26-02 on the first reading.
Second.
Duly moved and seconded to approve resolution 2026-02 on first reading and to set February 17th, 2026 regular mayor and council meeting as the date for the public hearing on this ordinance. Is there any further discussion among council on this? Just to reiterate also, this is something that came from our staff, from code enforcement, that they said, as a lot of folks probably know, this last year we transitioned back to in-house inspections for rental units. We had outsourced it to a third party for a number of years. We transitioned back to in-house, and when we transitioned to our in-house inspectors, we found that some of our third-party inspectors either didn't quite understand what the code said or had misinterpreted the code in some way. So there were some rental units that had successfully passed inspections that were not technically in compliance with the city's code because it was so much more strict than what the IPMC required. And that wasn't the intention. Whenever the ordinance was passed, we were intended to follow what the IPMC was. So this is putting us back in compliance with what the IPMC intended all along, so that, a significant portion of our rentals aren't failing based on something that wasn't the intent. That's my comment on that. Is there anything else among council? Comment or discussion among the public on this? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Resolution 2026-02 is approved on first reading, and February 17th is set for the public hearing date on that. Okay, moving on then to item 11B, which is resolution 2026-01.
Okay, so this one's nice and straightforward. So resolution 2026-01 is reappointing 2 members to the Recreation Commission. So this would reappoint Ms. Christina Creeling and Mr. Bob Stevenson to the Frostburg Recreation Commission for a 2-year term starting February 21st, 2026 and expiring on February 20th, 2028. They are currently serving and their terms expire this upcoming February.
And they're agreeable to.
Yes, they're both agreeable and they're doing a wonderful job. Staff are very excited to have them back. So, if there's no questions, I would look for a motion.
I move we approve resolution 2026-01.
Second.
Duly moved and seconded to approve resolution 2026-01. Any comment or discussion among council on that? Yeah, they're both good people. They were both teachers, so they can't be all bad. Anything among council, or excuse me, anything among the public on this resolution? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Resolution 2026-01 is approved. And that's it for new business. So move on then. This is the open public comment period. So did we have a sign-up sheet for this one? Okay. So we'll have open public comment period. Ms. Smith, you can go first. That's fine.
She's ready.
Aren't you surprised we see you doing some public speaking? You know me. I'm Carol Smith. I live at 250 Armstrong Avenue, Frostburg. I feel compelled to speak tonight and ask the city to protect all of our citizens, but especially our immigrant community. I'm scared. I've seen videos of immigrants being handcuffed and beaten. I've seen a video of an observer recording the actions of ICE and being violently shoved to the ground. I've seen the video of a woman being stopped while driving to her doctor's appointment. Her seatbelt was sliced and she was dragged from her car to the ground while crying and pleading to be listened to. I've heard the story of the father and mother driving home from a basketball game with their 6 kids in the van. They were stuck in traffic near a protest when a flashbang and tear gas canister were thrown under their vehicle. All 6 children were treated at a hospital. The 6-year-old needed CPR at the scene. And of course, I've seen the video of the murder of Renee Good. Too commonly, it is thought it can't happen here, but we need to look no further than Moorfield, Petersburg, Kaiser, Morgantown, and Hagerstown. Can anyone confirm if ICE has been seen in Allegheny County? I don't know. Yes. They have been? Okay. I have heard that vehicles have been spotted at the hotel on Willowbrook Road. It's a straight shot up 68 to Frostburg, and I don't think we should be surprised when they show up. The reason I am terrified is because if I do witness ICE arrests, I feel morally obligated, and I know that I am legally permitted to record the actions. I will try to stay safe and out of the way, but I know that at times innocent bystanders get accused of being domestic terrorists. I feel so much less safe knowing that masked immigration customs and enforcement agents are nearby. This isn't about left or right policies. This is about humanity. Let's work together to stop this madness. I do want to close with a quote by Becca Good, Renee Good's widow. She said, "We had whistles, they had guns."
Thank you, Ms. Smith. Mr. Lemmer.
Rick Lemmer, 513 Grandview Drive. Do I think Frostburg could pass the Doge test? No. With the population pretty stable for the past 60 years since I was born in Miners Hospital here in town, I'd estimate that the amount of people on the Frostburg payroll has gone up at least 100%. We got a problem with the employees. We got way too many in this city hall and out in the. I don't understand why all governments, municipal, county, state, and federal, are the same. When you're using the taxpayer money, it should be just the opposite. It should be, you got the people you need, and that is it. I was up here at one city council meeting. They wanted to spend $60,000 on a computer program for rental housing, saying how much easier this is going to make it on the people, yet you still hire more people. When I was born, City Hall had one lady running it. She tabulated water bills and everything by hand, I'm sure. How many do we have here now in City Hall? 12? 13? Okay. And I think the city should be strictly involved in what it needs to be involved in. Streets, police first of all, police, streets, garbage, etc. I pay for water, different so. Yeah, we've seen what this has, the problems this has caused. Petit, we bought, in the past, we bought the Lyric building and got stuck with it. We paid up to 3 times the amount of the assessed value of houses on Center Street in that district. And now, what do we got? Empty lots? I mean, didn't ever anybody before that look at Cumberland, what they've been going through with what the mess they're in down there with that off Park Street? Yeah, I want to know, are there any TVs in the water department and the street department?
I can't answer that question.
Yeah, in the water department, there's a TV.
Yeah, I heard they got some massive card games during the day in the street department too. This is why during work, we've obviously got way too many people. During work, and if you just have to pay people to ride around to get some windshield time in so they're not sitting watching TV, we've got way too many people. One day I was working outside my house. I counted water and street department go by my house 8 times during the day. And then I was told this at a previous when I complained about it before. Oh, they're just looking for things that are wrong. Then I should never have to call City Hall that say, this sign's down, blah, 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 potholes. You know, just this past week, I walk Main Street every day. There's a huge, big screen TV box sitting on Main Street, on the sidewalk, for a week. Well, today the wind blows it out in the street, I guess. It gets hit. I've got the white styrofoam is all over the place. I mean, before I ask you, Adam, would it be bad if to ask somebody, or to tell somebody to walk Main Street every day, to pick up garbage? You said shouldn't be a problem. Wouldn't be a problem with that. Doesn't happen. You know what I was told by somebody else? It's a good thing we don't have to pay these city workers by the mile. That's not me saying that. That's somebody else come up with that one. So obviously they're just riding around doing nothing. I don't understand why the city government has to work like that. If you run on being a conservative and say you're a conservative, be a governor like a conservative. We don't need this many people. I could understand maybe, and I get it's more technical now with compliance with state and federal stuff. I could get 5 employees in this city hall. I can't get 12 or 13 when we had 1 doing it when I was born here. Have you all discussed the tax rate? Since everybody's assessment here went up, have you discussed whether you're leaving the tax rate the same for the city? Or?
We have not discussed it in council yet, but
Okay.
I can't speak for everyone at the table, but I can tell you I'm not going to vote to increase any tax.
I mean, I'm all for lowering it because we're going to be paying more because I pay over $2,000 just the city of Frostburg. And when I first came here and said how much I paid, and it was not, it's not worth it, because Bobby Flanagan sat there and said, oh, that's, or no, I said my total tax bill. He said, oh, we're only 33% of that. Do you guys know what Frostburg's percent tax of it, my total tax bill is now? It's 42%. We could stand to lower the tax rate in town. And the one main thing that brought me here, do y'all understand? Do y'all know how we're now paying? Well, we have been paying more for our water rate is more than the people in Eckerd, Grahamtown, Mount Savage. Do you all know how that came about?
The state.
My understanding is there's an arrangement with Eckerd. There's an arrangement with Eckerd that goes back to a million years ago. I can't speak to the other counties.
Well, when it first started, and this is what I'm told, and I would like somebody to check into it and get back with me.
I can answer that for you right now. My father lives in Eckerd. His water bill is more than mine. Yes, the county pays us less money per
Right,
per gallon.
Right.
But they bill the customers for
Right.
the transmission of that. So
But-
the residents down there pay more than we do.
the residents are paying less per amount used than we do.
No, the residents aren't. My father's bill is larger than mine.
It's because of the county.
Right.
Okay.
The residents don't pay less. The county pays less.
Exactly. So we're paying less or we're paying more for our water than we're charging the county to distribute it. Okay, from what I understand, back in 05, 06, when Mayor Bond first came in, this was just passed it previously from the previous mayor and council, that they let the state handle this this deal. And why you would let the state handle this, I don't know why you wouldn't handle it yourself.
It wasn't a matter of the state handling it. It was contested, and because the county had paid for, had ponied up for, I think it was the reservoir, and so they said, well, that means that the customers that we serve should get a lower rate because we paid you money to do this. This, I believe the city of Frostburg then contested that, and it went up to the state, and the state was the decider then, said, no, we're going with the county.
I know the state was the
Public
decider.
Service Commission sets the rate. We argue it all the time. Every time it goes to the Public Service Commission, we argue that it should be raised, but they're the ones that set the rate that we're allowed to charge.
Well, Frostburg, you can't make money with the water system per se, right?
Right.
Right.
But from what I understand, and I don't know if this is true or not, it was a 20-year deal, and that was 05, 06.
Okay.
So can we look into?
Yeah, we're actually getting ready to start our whatever you call it, renegotiation. We're getting ready to start that conversation again with the county, which we do every handful of years, every 3 or 4 years. We have when we negotiate our county rates for everybody. That's getting ready to come up again anyhow. Matter of fact, I think it was due last year, so that's going to be coming up soon. And we can certainly, if there's a sunset on that deal with Everett, we can certainly.
I heard there is.
Okay.
I can't say for sure.
Yeah, I'll look at it.
But even looking into it, I mean, the county has the sewer treatment plant down the creek. Oh, sorry. I mean, maybe make a deal with that. Okay, we don't need to send it to Cumberland and get charged as much as we're paying for water. Maybe we can get, one hand washes the other in this kind of a deal.
Okay.
If you could get back with me, Todd.
I sure will.
I appreciate it.
Yeah, like I said, if there's a sunset on that deal, it'll come up.
Because I don't think, me paying more than you're charging the county is right for water.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think our in-town residents should be paying more than anybody.
No.
Yeah.
What the county charges the Eckerd guys or whoever is up to them. But I don't think I should be paying more than than the county. Thanks.
I'll call you back, Rick. Thanks.
All right, appreciate it.
All right. Mr. Clemens, and then I'll call you next.
Thank you, Mayor Logston. Reverend Ed Clemens Jr., 315 Pratt Street, Luke, Maryland, also 29 Pocahontas Road, Frostburg, Maryland. Little history, I am running for House of Delegates for District 1A, which is a good portion of Frostburg that it also covers. Resident of Allegheny County. I've also been a resident of Garrett County and have been involved in multiple organizations over the years. For about 23 years, I started out as a volunteer for a campaign years and years ago, served on the Central Committee, and then served 7 terms as mayor of Luke, Maryland. And I remember Mayor Bond and a lot of those conversations back in the day, served as Algar chapter president. Donnie, you've been there most of those years, I do believe. So been involved in a long time. And I believe experience matters, and a lot of the issues that you've brought up tonight, I understand them because I've been through them. Water rates across the county, across the region, are very, very high compared to other areas in the state. A lot of that has to do with regulation and over-regulation, and the Public Service Commission, as you said, sets your rates. The Public Service Commission cannot be touched by the legislature, is what I've been told. and the governor has no authority over it either. My question is, how is that constitutional, and why aren't we doing something about it? So that's something that needs to be corrected. I also believe the best form of government is small government and local government, because the people who live there know what's going on and can handle it better than the state. I do believe the role of the state is to help municipalities, which make up about 50% of Allegheny County, and also make up in Allegheny County north of 50% of the revenue that the county generates. So a lot of your businesses are town-based. And we're also areas that are called priority funding areas, which means we qualify for state and federal grants, whereas out in the middle of a cow field does not. Why is that important? You want to encourage business growth? Well, you need infrastructure. You have to be able to hook up. You need to be ready. Well, you can't do that out in the middle of the cow field. Well, you could, but it's going to cost you a lot more. All these regulations you talked about, smoke alarms and fire systems and sprinklers and those kind of things, those cost money. That's very hard to do where you don't have an existing water sewer infrastructure system. You can't do it. Public service, in the police departments, there's a problem. The governor says he's going to increase funding for police departments. Well, that sounds nice, except one thing. That's all on a reimbursement basis. Cities can't operate on a reimbursement basis. You need to be able to know how much money you're going to have for the next year in order to operate. I filled out those grants for years for the police department. They say, well, how much did you spend? And then they give you a percentage back. Well, why aren't you saying, well, this is how much we budgeted for, give us a percentage of that now? These are things that can be changed through legislation. And that's part of a delegate's job, is to propose legislation that helps the people. If we're not doing that, why are we there? And you have the assessment, the constant yield rate. Nobody knows what it means. It's supposed to mean the same as. You get the same amount of revenue unless you increase it or decrease it. But the problem is it's unfair. The city doesn't have the discretion to control how much the state assessor's office down there on Baltimore Street increases your assessment versus my assessment. You build a brand new home, pay $500,000 for it. You buy it for $500,000. Well, and then the person beside you lives in a house that's worth $100,000. Well, they say everyone's assessment went up 20% this year. Well, that made the person in the $500,000 home say, well, my taxes went up $4,000 this year. And then I say, well, mine only went up $300. So why does it matter? But it does matter because it discourages growth of new homes in a community. You can't increase the amount of people living in an area if you can't increase the amount of homes. And if it's a priority funding area and it can receive state and federal funding for growth, and the town has the ability to control the rates better, then you can increase the amount of the population in town and it can be more fair. And I don't think it's fair that the assessor's office, they say, well, you can apply for a homestead tax credit. Well, that sounds fine and good, except one thing. Here's what happens. I had this happen. A contractor built a house for $50,000. He sold it for $100,000. He made a good profit. The person buying it got a mortgage on $100,000. Well, the state comes in and says it's a $160,000 house. Well, their mortgage is escrowed and based upon that. They could afford the payment on a $100,000 house, but not a $160,000 house. They applied for an appeal. They were given a $20,000 discount for 3 years. Well, guess what now? Now their assessment's $180,000. This all happens within a 6-year period. So it's pricing people out of our area. It's not fair. And you don't have the jobs to support those kind of increases for the water, sewer, electric, those kind of things. So we need more local control to be able to take care of these things. That's basically my spiel on it. I have the experience. I have the knowledge behind it. I know what these terms mean. I know how the process works. I've been to Annapolis many, many times. The combined sewer overflow, that's been an issue that's been going on forever. You're being penalized for something that you had no control over. If the state's mandating you fix it, then the state needs to have a funding mechanism to support you for it. And that shouldn't get passed on to your customers. It does. It does. And with the community developed block grants, well, if you have affluent areas, you don't qualify. Those kind of things. We need to be able to control those kind of things, get the funding back to the people who are actually paying the bills. Government, the size, you ask about the size of it growing, I understand that as well, but regulation is a lot of the reason that happens. Why are we over-regulating, over-complicating, making things super complicated? If we can get the ability for counties and local governments and to be able to opt in or opt out of certain things and control things better, I think we can get that under control. Is it a long shot on some of those things? Yes, it is, but we need to try. We need to work towards that. So if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them now or after, whatever. Thank you for the opportunity. I appreciate it.
Thank you, sir. All right. Kip.
Kit Pepper-Lescalet again. Two quick, short things. First of all, I want to thank the Frostburg City Council and staff. I haven't come to a lot of meetings in the last few years, but I do watch from home. And I really appreciate the amount of transparency that you, it's very obvious that you are making an effort to be transparent and to include the public as a partner in what you do. I love the fact that you actually talk to each other about the issues here in the public meeting so that people can understand. Anyone who's sitting in the audience tonight learned a whole lot about the city of Frostburg just from this meeting. And that's wonderful, and it doesn't always happen. So thank you. I just wanted you to know that I see it and other people see it, and it's a darn good thing. My second point is going back to thank you for voting to pump the brakes, put the hold on, whatever it was that we did. I want to say that in my communication with the city staff on this, there was talk about there are activities that are already occurring in various areas of the city. This proposal would allow the city to have greater control and regulation over these activities. I interpreted that to be that we have businesses operating in our residential neighborhoods that aren't legally doing so, and I just wanted to rise and say, if they are not meeting our code that you vote on, then you need to shut them down. It's, if we don't enforce the code that we have, we don't need a code at all. So as you struggle to make the code exactly what it should be, that should be the code that's enforced. So I support you in making sure that our commercial commercial areas are everything they can be, and our residential neighbors or neighborhoods are also everything they can be. So do your job. Thanks.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Thank you very much for having me up again. Again, Kelly Mears. I live at 58 Linden Street. Great discussions tonight, and I appreciate the space for not just a lot of discussion during the agenda, but also seeing so many interested and passionate people in the audience. It's always exciting when we can see people in the audience because it means they care, and typically we show up because we're mad or upset about something. And so I think it's important just to recognize that there are voices here in the audience that are saying, hey, we're not really thrilled with the way that things are going. One of the things I'm hearing is that we're not thrilled with the transparency and the level of that transparency, the conversation, and bringing us up and informed into the table. So I'll echo what Kit says in terms of the discussion happening here, certainly appreciate that. But I do think that especially as we have a trend towards our nationwide community not getting the education levels that we need, we have an increased responsibility to help bring those members here of Frostburg up to speed when we're trying to change things. So I'm grateful for the actions here to help clarify and explain, and the actions that happen, especially within the departmental updates, to help clarify. I think that's really helpful. I do want to say thank you. It's been a cold winter, and there have not been too many issues or concerns that I've seen from the snow and the cold and the freezing. Very grateful to see just continued basic operations. You may be aware there were nationwide protests today, January 20th, in honor and recognition of the individual who was killed last week at the hands of ICE. I, as was mentioned today, am very concerned, and I am afraid of what will happen here in our community as well. I see the trends of ICE coming closer and closer, and I see the behavior of them across the nation. And I'm concerned. This is not just an issue that impacts our immigrant community, But this impacts all marginalized communities, and it impacts all Americans and all members of the Frostburg community. I would like to understand how this council would respond to requests from ICE to infiltrate this community and to understand what those actions would be taken should we ever see ICE on the streets of Frostburg. Should we ever see them knocking doors, asking for identification? I see people here who are afraid, who are impassioned, and who are emboldened. I also know people who don't feel safe coming here, and who have mentioned not feeling safe coming here and still being asked to come here and participate, because this is the place you're supposed to come to participate. For that reason, I'd like to encourage, when it comes to things like those voting, the zoning ordinance, where folks are saying, hey, I'm not sure I'm a fan of this, to bring things like referendums, to allow people to be a part of the political process. Being a part of the political process isn't sexy anymore. It's 2026. People are finding it gross to be a part of this. And so how do we make this something that is easy to understand at every level, regardless of our education, regardless of our experience, understanding why this applies to us? The other thing I want to add in here is I heard a number of conversations about taxes, and especially in relation to this conversation, right? Our federal government is the one who's funding that resource that is going into communities and disappearing individuals without any due process, and causing violence and the death of people who are fighting back against that. That makes me a little bit concerned about continuing to pay my taxes towards the federal government. I'm not thrilled with where they put their money entirely. And I vote according to that, and I advocate according to those perspectives. But I still pay my taxes, every dollar of them. And I still pay my water bill, and I still pay my electrical bill on every property that I own and everything I encounter. And I'm just wondering if this council can say the same about paying every single cent of the taxes and the water bills and the electrical bills that they owe. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Who's next? Last call for public comment, sir.
Good evening. My name is Bernard Leake. I live at 405 Grandview Drive, Frostburg. And I'm here about that J1 zoning and everything. And I'm totally against it. Because it's 1987, I moved up there. I had to because of the college kids in the middle of town. And all the traffic and everything. I mean, the traffic's heavy enough up there with the narrow streets you got. You don't have, if you park on both sides, you hardly can get through. If you got delivery trucks and stuff like that going up there, they're gonna block traffic and everything else, like they do on Main Street. That place up there wasn't built for the businesses. And you're talking about beer and wine and all this. The next thing, the beer and the wine, then you're gonna have a bar. So what you do, I mean, I don't care what you do, bathtubs full of beer, wine, whatever you wanna make, drink it in your own house, give a couple to your neighbors, do anything like that. But to have it there, and then you say, hey, you don't have to live in the place where you're doing this. So that leaves that open. You know what they're gonna do. And you were talking about welding shops. What about the steel laying out in somebody's yard and what it's going to cost us on our housing? Because they're going to lose value with all this stuff like this. And there's still vacant lots up there could be picked up. Not very many. But I don't know. I'm totally against it. and you're gonna have stuff laying in people's yards. We got enough of that up there now. And so I don't know, I think, Mr. Mayor, you live up there?
I do, sir.
I thought you did. You live on Victoria.
I do, sir.
So you want something like that next to you?
No, sir.
So I don't either, so put me down for the vote for not, because I was run out one time from Bowery Street because of the college kids. That's why I'm up there. And, I'm too old to start building a new house somewhere else in another state or something. So that's all I got to say. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Like the other lady said, well, there's kids up there, they ride bicycles, little kids, scooters, people pushing baby carriages and everything like, and there's no sidewalk, there's no place to get out of the road or anything. So, thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
How are you, Mr. Groves?
Who's next? Anyone next? All right. Last call for public comment.
Before you close session, just one thing while we're in the crowd here. We did start a email notification system for when we have water outages and some things like that we're trying to spread the word on. You go to the city website, in the top corner there's a button that says How Do I? You click on that and then click on email alerts. You can sign up for those. So it'll help you stay informed about some of the things that are happening in the city. So please spread the word. Thank you.
Did we looked into including like a text option or something?
Yeah, we're hoping to get that way eventually, yeah. But right now we have well over 100 people that have signed up email alerts, and we've been sending out things about trash collection, water outages. We have the option to do some things for community events and things like that when that comes around, updates about billing and things of the sort, so.
All right. Commissioner Carter, anything? No? Commissioner Ritchie? Commissioner Forsyth?
Do you have anything coming up? I've been out of the country, I'm really.
I can't think of anything. Some of your city staff are going to be attending the annual PACE reception in Annapolis. That's Thursday and Friday. It's an opportunity for us to go down. There's a lot of networking, but there's also a lot of important meetings that go on with state and federal funding agencies. That's how we bring a lot of state and federal dollars back to town for the projects that we're working on. So thanks to our engineering department for getting that ready. And we'll hopefully have that. Anything else?
I think that's
Commissioner Grove?
No.
Okay, students come back this weekend, so look forward to that too. 7:17, meeting is adjourned. We do this every month, folks, so feel free to come anytime.
Jimmy's last name.